Hello everyone, and welcome to RPG DIY, your channel for all things tabletop gaming. Today we're going to take a look at Troll Lord Games' Amazing Adventures. It's a genre-agnostic system. It's the Siege engine, like for Castles and Crusades, but this gives you all the information you need to run any type of game: horror, science fiction, western, adventure, whichever you like. So we're going to take a look at it. Let's get started. All right, so here we have the Player's Handbook. There is a Chronicle Keeper book as well, but this gives you everything you need to run the game, pretty much. Much like the Castles and Crusades Castle Keeper's Guide, it's the Chronicler's Guide is kind of a supplement that helps you design adventures and basically just supplement this game here. But this is pretty much what you need. So, the cover here, you can see, you've got kind of a Cthulhu-like monster. You've got kind of a steampunk jetpack person here. You've got a mage. You've got a cowboy on a horse shooting a rifle. You have kind of an Indiana Jones-style pulp adventure character. And then on the back here, you've got some kind of H.G. Wells tripod walkie machines. So, like this shows, you can pretty much use this for any genre. It expands on the Siege engine rules from Castles and Crusades by adding things like sci-fi weaponry, modern weaponry, all the non-fantasy things that Castles and Crusades has. So, open it up. Now, what I've done, I do this with all my books. I find all the tables and everything that are in the book itself. I make a copy, and then I paste all the pertinent information on the inside blank pages and covers of the book itself, so I don't have to go flipping through it. I've got everything right here. So this is my own customization of this book. So much like the Castles and Crusades books, has kind of the marbleized texture, but it does not interfere with the type. Here's your table of contents. It goes into the action heroes, and they're very generic tropes, like the acrobat, the arcanist, demon hunter, duelist, feral, gadgeteer, or powered. So that could be your steampunk scientist, or that could be your superhero. And all these, like the gunslinger sounds very Western, but it could be sci-fi as well. Pugilist, basically a boxer. But all these are very, very generic and can be applied to any setting. Here's your generic class abilities. You have backgrounds, qualities, the type of gear. So you've got here, you even got starting wealth. You've got pulp armor, standard armor, archaic weapons, firearms, explosives, general gear, vehicles, sci-fi equipment, and the gadget room. Then you goes into the magic and mentalism. So this gives you the rules for psionic abilities versus just magic, like telekinesis, telepathy, that type of thing. And then the basic rules of the game here. How to do attribute checks, exploding or imploding dice, your saving throws and on down the line, combat maneuvers. So this is the basic how to resolve anything in game. There's a treasure section and then a narrative of play. Now there is a separate monster manual that you can get for this too. It's all the amazing adventure stuff. You can use the Castles and Crusades. So for instance, if you're doing a kind of a gothic horror, the Monsters and Treasure from Castles and Crusades has things like werewolves and vampires, all your classic gothic horror creatures. And this gives you a welcome to the Siege engine superverse and just some general information on how the game was created. There used to be a 5th edition style of rules, but they no longer produce that. Now it's just the Siege engine. And the artwork is done by different artists. That's why there's varying styles here. This gives you a quick breakdown of the core engine rules, how to work it with Castles and Crusades. So here's your steps. You imagine a character, assign attribute scores, choose your primary attributes, choose language, choose character class, determine hit points, choose a disposition, equip your character, choose your spells, gadgets, etc., and then record all your fate points. Fate points is something kind of, I don't want to say exclusive to this, but something that's not mentioned in the fantasy Castles and Crusades, at least not that I found so far. I haven't read the book cover to cover. But in this one, pretty much everybody's a human. You could do elves and dwarves, because you could still do generic fantasy here. And they have a section right here, non-human characteristics and primary attributes. So much like Castles and Crusades, you have primary attributes, secondary attributes. When you're making your skill roll, if it's a primary attribute, you start with a 12, add the difficulty level, and then the person rolling, usually you started at 12, so you got to roll at least a 12, but then you add the difficulty level, say it's a 3, well then it's going to be then you have to roll 15, and you a lot of times add your level to whatever you're rolling, plus any bonuses based on that primary attribute to beat the 15. If it's a secondary attribute, it's going to start at an 18 and go up based on the difficulty level. So in Castles and Crusades, races like elves, dwarves, orcs, half-orcs, you only get 2 primary attributes because your race gives you things that humans don't have, so that's kind of like a supplement for the 3rd attribute, primary-wise. And humans get 3, 1 based on their class, and then they get to choose the other 2. And so here's, again, a list. And this goes into more detail of everything that you're doing to build your character. So like, for instance, here's the acrobat, tells you what you have at first level here with just starting out. And then they go into more of a breakdown here and exactly what each thing is. And as you can see, they've done, like for an acrobat, this is more of a science fiction looking guy. And this is more modern, kind of Black Widow-esque, and how they can apply regardless of what your setting is. An Arcanist here talks about how you use your spell abilities. Again, the table showing what you have. And then here's your spells prepared per day. So Demon Hunter on down the line. The Gadgeteer and the Powered go into a little more detail, because that's not something you really have in Castles and Crusades. So this goes into the steampunk, mad scientist, or superhero, and how to do that. So let's go through the heroes here. And then here shows you how to multi-class. You can do class and a half. You can trade off levels back and forth. Here's your table for your class and your half levels. There's some quick rules, just a quick breakdown on how to do that. And you can round out your character with your personality and your disposition. And here's where you go into your law or chaos, basically your alignment, fate points and how to use them. Something a little different than Castles and Crusades. And here's fate points. And for instance, when first through fourth, you roll a d6. And then 5 through 9, you roll a d8, and so on. And you can spend fate points to basically fix a bad roll. And there also can be used instead of magic points in the spell slots. You can use fate points to add more spells to your daily allotment. So also talks about amazing adventure classes in Castles Crusade. So it shows how they can coincide, these classes, and how you can put them in your Castles and Crusades game. So here's your Bard, your Druid, Forsworn, Fighter, Cleric. So here's the character customization, the advanced character customization. And this gives you some generic abilities you can add to your character. So then it can improve the background, knowledge and skills, qualities. And here's some descriptions of your qualities, like if you're aggressive, you're a bruiser, you have dark sight. Let's see here. So there's a lot of focus on just creating the character, because once you have to create the character, running the game is much easier. If you look at what it takes to run the game versus what it takes to set up the character always trumps it, because the actual rules to run the game are very simple. And it's really up to the Chronicle Keeper. In this game, it's Chronicle Keeper. In Castles and Crusades, it's Castle Keeper. So, here's your sci-fi weaponry and vehicles. It's a smaller section because you can just, like it has Starfighter. It doesn't give you like 25 different types of ships. You can just say Starfighter. And the Chronicle Keeper can adjust the power of everything based on how small or how large the vehicle is. All right. So here's gadgets, and they've already made some for you. And obviously you can create your own. Here's your magic and mentalism. This is where you can use your fate points to augment the number of spells you have. So in this, it starts with the mental abilities, psionics, psychic attacks, things like that. Here's a list of those abilities. Now, I'm not a big fan of psionics in a fantasy setting because I figure magic does that enough. But in this, it kind of makes sense, because if you're playing a Cthulhu-like setting or a modern-day setting, like if you were playing a Scanners, all of you who've seen Scanners, you know what I'm talking about. The psionics would really come in handy. All right, so then you go into, here's your spell tables. Now, the way spells work is you either use intelligence, wisdom, or charisma for powering your spells, and the type of spell slinger you're playing will dictate what that one is. And here's a list of spells based on level. So you have, going back here, so it starts with intelligence-based casters. And you have wisdom-based. And then charisma-based. So that's how the spells are divided up. And this gives you the breakdown of saving throw, casting time, what you need. And here's your more detailed list alphabetically of all the spells. It'll give you the name of it, what level, and what ability is used to cast it. So you go through here. All spells. All right, so then you get into the rules of the game. Shows you how to do attribute checks and a couple different methods. There's the passive method, the active method. How to aid others, type of saving throws. Talks about fatigue and exhaustion. And here it gives you basic combat. So you've got action, armor class. I know a lot of people who played 5e or any other E version of D&D know what all these are. How long a round lasts, and what happens in a round. If anybody's surprised. Your type of movement available. Your actions you can do on your turn. You got even point blank shots, which is rare in a well-played game, because normally it's either ranged combat where you have to be back far enough, or it's melee, but you could be fighting somebody while holding a pistol to do a point blank shot of some kind. Touch attack, grappling, all these different types of combat maneuvers you can do. Hit points, damage. Then there's magic damage, weapon damage, subdual damage if you just want to knock them out, but you don't want to kill them. So it goes into a lot of great detail for stuff like that. All right, then you have some vehicle combat. And then the very end, you get a narrative of play. Kind of just a story, and you get to kind of see how these people resolve this particular scenario. You have a character sheet in the back. Free character sheets, free fillable character sheets are available on the Troll Lord Games site for free. And again, I've pasted my own references here so I can just turn to the front or the back of the book without thumbing through all the pages. So there you go. That is the Player's Handbook. And there you go. A system you can use to run any genre of game you like. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll put a link to this book and Troll Lord Games in the description. So please like, subscribe, and share this. And until we meet again, may you always roll with advantage.